at lunch.
You are looking live.
Live at lunch. Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
What the hell's going on out here?
Now, here's Jimmy Ott and Charles Hannegriff.
For some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Is it live? Is it live? Is it live?
From Rufino's on Highland Road, welcome to the Friday edition of Live at Lunch. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge, Charles Hannegriff, Jimmy Ott. Jordan Kitchen's back in the studio. Max Gotro down in New Orleans. Super Bowl 59 is Sunday. We got picks. We got a ton of stuff to get to. Games, props. We got guys down there. They're going to be with us. Bruce Marshall is in his normal spot. Doug Kazarian's going to be with us today.
Yeah. Doug Kazarian, formerly of Daily Wager, the host on ESPN, a buddy of mine who is always – one thing I know about Dougie, I can call him – want to go get a good meal.
Yeah.
You know, foodie, go out to get a good meal in Vegas. He said, yep, I'll meet you. So he's, humans does the fast food. I mean, I'm not going to Vegas going to eat at McDonald's, okay?
Right.
I mean, come on. So, but Doug will meet me. And so he was already been in and out of Radio Row. So just checking in with my boy. He'll certainly have some picks with us. Winnersonly.com, his website, his venture right now.
You had a spy on the ground for us at the awards thing last night. EJ was down there, huh?
Yeah, so the NFL reached out to some of the people affected from the New Year's Eve /day.
Can I say this real quick?
What?
Good for them. We criticized the league for a bunch of stuff. Good for them for doing that.
Charlie, it was a group of them that were all – there's nothing bringing Kareem back.
No.
But kind of made their night.
Yeah.
Made them feel a little special, kind of hobnobbing with, all the notables.
It's like the NFL's version of the Oscars.
It's absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not it's 100% the NFL's version. And when is this is a new thing?
It's fairly new. I think the last.
It was well COVID, done, dude.
Yeah. No, they've added the Hall of Fame aspect to it, which is recent.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, but their red carpet deal. And they're doing some interviews, things. But 8 to 10. I mean, it's going to fit in that slot. It's going to be 2 hours. And Snoop's. I mean, who doesn't like Snoop? So
tell a joke.
Well,
it's pretty good.
So you got to, the Burrow fought of some. But those kids, they were excited. They're excited.
That's
so,
great.
No. You're 100% accurate with that.
Glad to hear.
Mine hit Josh Allen.
Yeah.
It's just Charlie. I just can't. I think Josh Allen has had a better career.
And
okay,
listen,
certainly been better in the postseason. Okay, Lamar's put up, and this is probably Lamar was statistically his best year, but there's no way the best player can have 0 MVPs. And the other guy has 3.
Okay, so
that's all.
No, and that's fine.
And I think that's fair.
I think there's. I thought this was a coin flip. I thought Jackson would win it. Here's my only problem with the deal, and I got no problem with Josh Allen winning it. The 50 people that vote on the MVP are the same 50 people that vote on All-Pro. Okay, there's a list of them. Some of the names you recognize, some you won't. They voted Lamar Jackson as the first-team All-Pro quarterback, and then voted Josh Allen as the MVP. I got it.
Well, they split the.
Yeah,
it's almost like there's a little conversation there.
Yeah, and I don't quite get that. I mean, to me, if I'm a voter, and if you vote for Allen, I got no problem with that. If you vote for Jackson, I got no problem with that. But if you vote for one and one for the other,
but you're going to have Josh Allen no MVPs and Lamar 3. That's the more important one. Do you think that the MVP is more important than the All-Pro?
Yes,
it is.
I do.
It is.
I do, but. If I'm voting on the MVP for the 2024 season, I'm not supposed to take into consideration whether they've won before or not.
Charlie, but no. Hold on now. Because you did agree to a point before where the buildup in his postseason, because this is voted on at the regular season, but then, like, when Joker carries the team to a title, dude, that gives him a little juice for the MVP next year.
Yes.
Sorry. That should. And you acknowledge that.
I acknowledge that.
And so Lamar has struggled in the postseason.
He has.
You can't kill him totally for this one, but he could have played better. It wasn't one of his better games. with a couple of turnovers.
The two key turnovers, and of course, and that's not in the MVP or the All-Pro voting. What happens in the postseason?
It's carry over to next year.
It's in their heads. I agree with that.
And what's more important when we talk about Hall of Fame? I mean, Eli Manning would not be close to Hall of Fame, but he's got those playoff runs. That means more, and it carries over. And it's one of those things. And I asked you before, and you said, yeah, it should.
Yeah.
And so this one had to go to Allen. I just can't. Michael Jordan didn't win some MVPs, Charlie.
Sure.
Because they're going to give 9 of them, in a row. No, they're not going to do that. So they spread the wealth a little bit. It just kind of all works out a little bit. I don't have a problem. I would have had a much bigger problem. Lamar Jackson, not as good as Josh Allen, and he's got 3 and it's got done. It just so happened that this was his better year than the previous 2. But Allen has been the better quarterback in the playoffs without question.
I would just ask those voters that voted one way on one of these awards and one way on the other one what their rationale was for it. Because either you think that Allen had the better year.
What it is.
Yeah, I know, and I don't think that's right. Because I think both of these things are who do you think is a better player.
But I do think it's right.
If you voted for one of these guys as the first-team All-Pro quarterback and you voted for, say, Saquon Barkley as MVP, well, I would understand that. You would think that Saquon was more important than these guys. But that's not what happened here. Allen and Jackson split the vote. They got all of the first-place votes.
Okay, so he won the MVP last year. Jackson.
Yeah.
Okay. And then he laid a pretty big egg against Kansas City.
He did. But
Okay. So that counts to next year.
It counts in the voters' heads. Yeah.
I mean, and you don't think that? You already said that's fair. So how does that not? I mean, it was so close, and so he had a flop last year.
I said it's fair to acknowledge that that's on the minds of the voters. I'm saying if I were a voter, it wouldn't be on my mind. I'm not supposed to vote on the 24 season. I'm not supposed to take into consideration what happened.
You contradicted what you said.
No,
you acknowledged earlier a conversation that the postseason should have a carryover effect.
I acknowledge that it is having an effect on those voters. I'm saying it wouldn't have an effect on mine.
Oh, it wouldn't on you.
No.
Okay. So you can live with yourself and say, yep, I was one of those. Because remember, these voters have legacy, and they wonder, you voted. So my boy, Cabrera, Miguel Cabrera. So Cabrera won a Triple Crown, and you didn't vote him for the AL MVP.
Well, no, that would be foolish. Yeah.
Okay. No, so wait a minute. So Josh Allen is. You think that Lamar Jackson's 3 MVPs better than Josh Allen? On no planet. Could you explain yourself?
I'm saying that if I voted for one of those guys for All-Pro, I would vote for him for MVP too. That's I wouldn't split my vote, and obviously several of these guys did.
You don't think there's some of them that were?
Some of them did.
Yeah,
okay. they did. And I don't. If you think one guy's better than the other, then you vote for him for both things. By the way, this is the only time this has happened. Elway was the All-Pro quarterback, and Montana won the MVP, or maybe I got that backwards. And Steve McNair and Peyton Manning split it one year, and McNair was the All-Pro quarterback. So this has happened before. I'm just saying if I voted
for
those,
previous postseasons coming in and stuff, because Manning had some rough times in the postseason.
Yeah, it was in 2003, which was the year after McNair made them.
You don't think that what you do in the playoffs should have a carryover effect for these regular season awards the following year or in the future?
I'm saying that it does and it shouldn't. No. If I'm voting for the MVP for 2024.
So I misinterpreted what you said because I think it should. You telling me the regular season is more important than the postseason?
I'm telling you that's the criteria for what they're voting for. They're voting for the MVP for the 24 season.
So, but when you see a guy like, Joker and Embiid, and you see this guy, he can't get out the second round, and Joker's carrying his team to the title.
Yeah. I think it absolutely has an effect on the minds of the voters.
But it shouldn't. Okay.
It shouldn't.
I disagree.
Okay.
You think the playoffs don't count as much as the regular season?
I think the playoffs count way more than the regular season, but that's not what the award is. The award is a regular season MVP. So, anyway.
I disagree. Move on.
Okay.
I mean, I'm enough of this.
MVP, the Hall of Fame.
I tried to tell you who's going to win a damn award.
You did.
Jackson didn't even show up.
You did. Look, I told you I thought it was a coin flip, and Allen won. And I have no problem.
It was. It was a lock, Charlie.
It was pretty damn close. The Hall of Fame stuff.
The
votes? 383 to 362. It was 27 to 23
Landslide.
first place votes. Hall of Fame stuff. Some small surprises, some big surprises. I
told you about Manning. That thing was heavily debated.
Yeah.
And it was heavily debated.
And I agreed with you on that he might not get in on the first one.
No,
I thought
he was getting in
I
last
thought
night.
he would. That surprised me. But it's not a shock. We talked about why. He'll get in eventually, but not on the first.
Qualifying your losses. That's nice. Okay,
Yeah,
go ahead.
absolutely.
All right. I gave you a loser, but it was not a shock. What the hell is that? Are you kidding me? Are you still seasick?
I thought that.
Could you talk about how big the waves were again?
I thought that 6 to 8 feet. Those numbers I'll remember.
God.
I thought Luke Kuechly would get in. He didn't.
Yeah. Well,
Antonio Gates was a lock. He got in.
He was the leading vote getter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a lock to get in.
Yeah.
And Kuechly didn't get in. Vinatieri didn't get in. Manning didn't get in. Jared Allen and Eric Allen both did.
You didn't bring up Eric Allen yesterday.
I didn't. We didn't have time. There were 15 guys. I brought up the first time. I didn't think Allen was getting in.
He's a great player.
He was.
Great player.
Until Marshawn Lattimore got there, he might have been the best cornerback the Saints have ever had, and he was on the backside of his prime when he got to New Orleans. He had better years in Philadelphia.
Oh, he was
still
past
good.
his prime when he got to his best days were at the Eagles.
Yeah.
He's part of that Buddy Ryan defense, right?
Yes, he was. And past his prime, he was still better than – the Saints don't have a great history of cornerbacks, okay? Until Lattimore got there, Allen was one of the –
Lattimore's probably the best.
Yeah.
They've gotten the best years. He's probably as a Saints player, probably had the most Pro Bowls out of anybody, huh?
He did. And Allen was there before Jabari Greer and Tracy Porter and all that stuff.
So I can't forget those guys.
At that time, when he left the Saints in the mid-'90s, he was probably the best corner
Johnny
that
Poe?
they had. I thought Eric Allen, even past his prime, was better than Johnny Poe.
Charlie, you know what his nickname was?
Toast.
I'm going to be a little West Bank here, and I apologize. We're the fine rest. Piss Poe.
Yeah, okay. Can never tell if you're being serious or not, you New Orleans guys.
Piss Poe.
Sterling Sharp got in on the Veterans Committee. It was a pretty cool video of his brother telling him that he got it.
The thing was really well done, man.
Yeah.
They had some great video montages of the season. I thought it was a great celebration of the NFL. I thought the production people, man, hit it out the park.
Yeah.
You know how these things can kind of run and get off schedule and things. I thought it may, I was trying to, well, I don't know if I even would have watched it because on a normal night, but we, got that loser +2 with a bank shot by Ohio State. Of course, Maryland blew a 17-point lead, but I digress, in-game hedges. It was tight, man. It was well done. Goodell had a little exchange with Snoop.
Yeah.
That was kind of funny. They gave him a little line. It was funny. It was good, Snoop threw a little dig. Belichick brought all of his rings. I mean,
that ain't all he brought.
He's maybe.
You set that one up. You put that one on a tee. I'm sorry.
Let's talk about the specials.
Yeah,
over here.
move on. Nice segue there.
Yes. Snoop Dogg said, remember when the Cowboys were good? Damn, it was a long time ago. Bill Belichick's girlfriend wasn't even born then.
True story.
Appetizer features today here at Ruffino's: the stuffed shrimp with the crab meat stuffing and the sauce Charon. The Sushi ribs. That's right. I don't know why they did. The St. Louis pork ribs, Szechuan sticky glaze, the crispy garlic, and the cilantro and sesame seeds. That's our appetizer features today. The entree features today here at Ruffino's: the broiled 16-ounce Wagyu flank steak with a chimichurri sauce, a mushroom bread pudding. Wine bearing is a canvasback Cabernet from Washington, Pacific Northwest there. The grilled Cavaroy salmon, the butter poached lobster claws, charred green onion relish. Suggested wine pairing is a Pejus Chardonnay out of Napa. The oven roasted prime rib with the mashed Yukon potatoes, au jus. Wine pairing, Turnbull Cabernet out of Napa. In our dessert feature today, the Oreo cheesecake. Hey, don't forget during these chilly February days, huh, Charlie? The Ruffino's Old Elk is always over here. Our own exclusive hand-picked single-barrel select bourbon here at Ruffino.
Live at Ruffino's. Live at
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
All right, Chris Macero joins us right now via San Diego. Chris, how you doing, buddy?
What's up, Jimmy? How you doing?
Doing good, man. Doing you good. Super Bowl, just some thoughts from a handicapping perspective. Overall, 1.5, 48.5. I'm surprised it hasn't moved up on a total, especially the way the conference championships just cruise to overs. The public loves overs to begin with. Just wondering about the odds makers being a little. I would have put that thing closer to 50 at this point. But just your thoughts on some of the matchup and what's going on with the Super Bowl.
Well, first I want to say the biggest omission, and he wasn't even a finalist for the Hall of Fame, is 100% Rodney Harrison. The guy is one of only two players in the history of the league to have 30 interceptions and 30 sacks, the other being Ray Lewis, two-time Super Bowl winner, some of the most iconic interceptions in the playoffs, 6 playoff postseason interceptions. I just think a two-time Super Bowl winner, long-time player at a really tough, hard-hitting position. He might be getting some demerits for being, maybe they call him a dirty player earlier in his career, but that's just my, I wanted to get that off my chest. As for the...
hey, wait, real quick, but on the Manning cast, they, Manning was throwing, they were retiring Dallas Clark's jersey at a Colts game, and so Manning was talking about the conference championship win with Dallas Clark, had 140 yards reception, and Belichick said, Harrison's hurt. Let's just say he would not have 140 yards or whatever it was that night. So, yeah, he stepped in real quick. And when Belichick does talk, you see the appreciation and the respect he had for Harrison as a player, no doubt.
Yeah, he only played with the Patriots for a short time, but he's one of my all-time favorite Patriots, no doubt. As for the game, I'm kind of surprised that the total hasn't ticked up. Everyone said it was going to get up to 50. I bet over 48.5. I think this fast track at New Orleans, you guys would know better than me, but I've heard that that specific type of field turf is a little bit quicker than the rest of the indoor stadiums. And if you look at the season, Philadelphia has really dominated games indoors this year, averaging 28.7 points a game. They've also dominated the total yards and time of possession all three of those games. New Orleans, they played the Rams, and the other one's escaping Dallas. So they've had 3 games inside. They've dominated all 3. I really like the quickness and explosiveness of this offense. And if you look back 2 weeks ago, Buffalo didn't even play that great, and they put up 29. So I'm leaning Philadelphia in the game, but my method of my madness to play this game is I'm going to play the Philadelphia team total first half 10.5 over, game 23.5 over, and I'm going to play some all-team totals because I think even if this game starts slow, because sometimes the Super Bowl is a little feel-and-out process, I think once they get moving in this game, there's going to be some points scored. I mean, Kansas City, they might want to try to slow the game down a little bit, but they can't really do that because they don't have any running game. So they're going to be throwing the ball. Mahomes does his little runs, which that's almost their running game at the moment. And I just think Philadelphia is too explosive to keep this game as a low-scoring game. Now maybe Kansas City doesn't put up that many points, but I think Philadelphia is going to eat. So I played some alt totals. You can get 30.5 plus 295 at DraftKings, 31.5 plus 390 at DraftKings. And I'm a future parlay type of guy. I like to do the cross sport thing. So just for fun, if you wanted to put $100 on over 31.5 team total over Philly, that's plus 390. Pop it in with say OKC Western Conference. And if you even wanted to go chalk in college basketball, you put in Auburn. $100 gets you back $4,700. And if you want to put in their opponent on Saturday, Florida,
slow down,
that same 100 gets you back 23,000. So those are just some fun ways to play it.
All right, well, give me this one to win 4,700 one more time. A little slower now, so I can write down. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, So if you wanted to play, a fun way to play, because I think Philadelphia is going to score a lot of points. You could play over team total Philadelphia 31.5.
Okay. All right.
That pays you. That's a plus 390.
Okay.
And I like to add it in with one from each sport because you can't do obviously the same in the
Auburn
same.
money
So
line.
I put in Yeah, Auburn to win the national championship.
Oh, to win the Natty. Okay. The water.
Yeah.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah. Cross-sport parlay. Cross-sport parlay.
Okay. All right. And who else?
And then
Or is
with
that it?
OKC in the Western Conference.
OKC conference champions in the West. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We got.
I mean, that's just going chalk, and it pays you $4,700. Like I said, if you wanted to throw in Florida to win the national championship, at obviously higher odds, that same $100 gets you back $23,000. So just some fun ways to play it instead of doing, betting the coin toss, and that's just not my style.
The thing I like about Auburn, Charlie, is that they're a complete team. They can beat you scoring. They can defend you. They can, and that's what I think they really separates them in Alabama. They defend a lot better. They can lean on you. They can play half court. They're deep. I mean, his teams are not going to be phased on the big stage. They can be lacking. They have a poor shooting night. They can do this. They can win so many ways.
They have a great player in Broom that is a real leader. They have a great coach who's been to the finals before. They are as battle tested as anybody. I think they have 11 or 12 Q1 wins. They've been to Duke, plus they make the turn at the Southeastern Conference, the toughest conference in college basketball at 9-0. They've got everything.
Yeah, but I want to. Johnny Broom is not Cooper Flagg. He's not going to be a great pro. He's not highly skilled, but he does the dirty work for his coach, and he will get into
He's a leader.
They do something dumb, he is getting in their face. They do something soft, he's getting in. Yeah, so, to have some experience, I mean, he's
a great college player.
They flat out back off of him sometimes in the paint. Old school LSU people, a little bit of Rudy Macklin. To him, man. He's going to hit double-doubles every night they play. Chris, we got some good college basketball. Hey, man, you were on fire last Friday night. You gave us two easy winners last Friday night, including St. Louis getting smashed at home when they kind of, they were on a little bit of a roll there. UConn and St. John's tonight. This one's available at FanDuel right now. UConn 3.5 at home against the Red Hot Johnnies, 10, 11, whatever it is in a row.
Yeah, I would usually be on UConn. I mean, it's $2 beer night, and Liam McNeely's back, so that's a great combination. I'm actually going to look towards the under in this game. It's a very interesting contrast of styles. UConn is 10th offensively, but 118th defensively. St. John's is 74th offensively, but 4th defensively. And whatever St. John's does well or bad, UConn is the opposite. UConn is awesome at defending the three, but UConn is horrible at defending the three, but St. John's is 340th shooting the three. UConn fouls a lot, but St. John's can't make any of their foul shots, and vice versa. It's like St. John's is unbelievable defending the two, and that's what UConn does the best, scoring inside. So I'm just going to look for an under here. I found a 142. The shooting percentages for St. John's are just so below. I mean, like I said, 340th out of 364 shooting threes, 29.6%, 68.7% from the free throw line. But their defense is so good and gritty that I think this is going to be right down to the wire, last possession game. I'm going to go under 142 in the game. I would lean UConn maybe money line just because St. John's is on their third game in 6 days, and UConn has a huge rest advantage. But I don't want to lay 3.5 versus a Rick Pitino team because I just think it's just going to be an old classic Big East type of battle, and I'm looking forward to watching it. But I'm leaning under St. John's 142.
All right, VCU Dayton in the Atlantic 10. Dayton 1.5-point favorite here against VCU.
Yeah, we had Dayton last week. Nice rebound. This is another game where I'm going to lead under. I mean, I have no idea. This is going to be another game right down to the wire, but I like this under game because VCU, 25th defensive efficiency, and Dayton is a slow-paced, 284 pace team tempo in the country. And I love playing unders when the home team has a slow tempo and the opposing team is a top defensive team. You're also looking at two teams that don't shoot the three that great, and VCU is awesome defending the three. VCU not great shooting free throws, 178th in the country. So there's a lot of factors that looking towards the under here. And if you look, the last 5 games, Dayton is not a great defensive team, but the last 5 games they've held opponents to an average of 67 points a game. And if you go back the previous 9, excluding the one loss to St. Louis, VCU is holding opponents to 61.2 points a game. So I think this is another low-scoring game. I found a 139.5. I'm going to go under VCU Dayton, 139.5.
All right, tomorrow, Auburn and Florida, we got a line out on it already. Maybe somebody can present a little bit of a challenge to Auburn, especially in their home court. Maybe the Florida Gators. 9.5 points at FanDuel right now, early line.
That seems a lot. I've been trying to catch Auburn on a weak spot. It just hasn't happened. The LSU game 2 weeks ago, the LSU should have covered. Mississippi had it down to 2 on Saturday. They ended up losing by 10. Oklahoma hung tough for a little while, covered the first half on Tuesday, then got their doors blown off. But as you mentioned, all those quad 1 wins, they've faced such a gauntlet of a schedule. And I just think Florida, if there's one team in the SEC that I can see getting to the Final Four besides Auburn, and I know everyone's talking Tennessee, but I don't think they have the offense. Florida seems like they fit the part. When they're clicking on all cylinders, they got good guard play, they got the bigs, they got a good coach, and I just think they do enough things good where they should be able to maybe neutralize Auburn just a little bit. Florida, 6th offensive efficiency, 14th on defense. They defend the 3, top 5 in the country, and they defend the 2, top 15 in the country. I think 9.5 might be just a little too much. I'm going to probably, if that's the number, I'm going to be on Florida plus the 9.5.
All right, Charlie. Chris says some teams that from the SEC that can make it to the Final Four. I've got, of course, Auburn, Alabama, Tennessee, and Florida. I don't want to count out. God, this Missouri team intrigues me. Okay, I'm not ready to eliminate them. And Buzz in College Station, not ready to eliminate him just yet, too. What you thought?
I like the way Missouri has played on the road. They went down to the O'Connell Center and won at Florida.
Yes.
They were very competitive earlier this week at Tennessee.
Tennessee hadn't shot that good all year.
Yeah, I mean, they lose that game, I think, by 5. So their road games in particular. For A&M, it's about Wade Taylor. Is he healthy? He's been in and out of the lineup. As long as he's playing, yes, they got a heartbeat.
All right, Chris, where you going to watch the game, man, Sunday? Huh?
I'm gonna watch at home. I made a bunch of pizza dough balls yesterday, so it takes a 3-day ferment, and we'll be making pizza on Sunday at the house. Little chicken palm sub appetizers. So we're ready to go over here.
I mean, save some of that for late July, bro. When I'm in town, I mean, come on, man. I mean, you got me eating this chicken joint at PB, So come on, man. That sounds good.
There's really one thing my mother did. She taught me how to cook, so we can get you fed. We can get you fed, Jimmy.
Good job, Chris. We appreciate it. Good luck to you this weekend, brother.
All right, yeah, you guys enjoy the game. Thanks, guys.
All right, don't forget our friends at Legacy Title. Chad Reynolds, Legacy Title for all of your real estate closings. 296-0060. Full-service title company servicing all of South Louisiana. Ashley Donald, Mariana Haynes, Adrian Galata, Michael Platt. Buying, building, refinancing. Nobody chooses but you. Choose Chad Reynolds at Legacy Title, 296-0060.
Live at Rufino's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Odd and Hanny from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
We're going to check in a little bit later with Max live, but here's Max earlier in the week down on Radio Road doing our stuff for us. We're dealing with the park and dealing with all that stuff. So go ahead, Max. It's a great time. Go ahead there, bro. We'll get served.
All right, welcome back to Radio Row here in New Orleans. Pleasure.
Here is Max with ESPN2 and Omaha Productions. Kevin Clark. He also weighed in on Kellen Moore, who seems to be a lock for the Saints' job after the Super Bowl is over. Monday or Tuesday to announce something officially there. He's got an opinion on that. Here's Max with Kevin Clark, ESPN2 and Omaha Productions.
All right, welcome back to Radio Row here in New Orleans. Pleasure to be joined by Kevin Clark of This Is Football, Omaha Productions, ESPN2. Welcome to New Orleans, Kevin.
I am happy to be here. I love New Orleans. I love Super Bowls where everything is condensed and you can walk everywhere, so this is my kind of place.
How many Radio Rows have you been to now?
I don't know, 12, something like that. I think that I've been to every one. Actually, the first one I covered as a journalist was New Orleans the last time, which was crazy and just different, and I didn't know you shouldn't drink every night of Super Bowl week back then. I know it now. I learned my lesson, but it was a different experience. But I love this, and I love this whole atmosphere. Some people get kind of sick of it, and there's too many people and too many stop and chats. But I don't know. Football is a little different than other sports. Baseball, basketball, everybody sees everybody else because they play so many games. There's so much BS time before and after. Football, you can go an entire year without seeing somebody, and so Radio Row, in a weird way, is like a reunion of sorts.
Hopefully the lights stay on this time around. Let's get to the game. Start about the Chiefs' offense. Any problems you see with Joe Thuney kicking out to left tackle? We saw, it kind of affected the run game so far in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big concerns. And you look at this. So Gerald McCoy was on my show yesterday and asked about Jalen Carter, which I thought was a pretty good question, if I do say so myself. No, this is just so good. And McCoy said, it's not really Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter's running upfield. If you watch the Rams tape, he's just running upfield. He's very good at running upfield because he's big and fast. But it's Nolan Smith. Nolan Smith's the guy who makes guards' life hell. And I think the more there are weak links on that line, and schematically, I mean, Joe Thuney's really good, and I think it's admirable that he was able to kick out and do all that stuff. But if Nolan Smith can play games and give headaches for the guards, it's going to be a long day for Mahomes. I mean, the reason Mahomes lost his only Super Bowl defeat was because it was literally the biggest discrepancy in pressures in the history of football. So, he was pressured 38 times or something. Brady, I think, was pressured once. It was literally if you look at the plus minus, there's never been a bigger discrepancy. So Mahomes can be beat if he's flushed out of the pocket, if he's under assault. I don't think it's going to be that bad because there were just so many injuries with that Chiefs team a couple years ago when they played Tampa. It's not going to be that bad, but that is the recipe, and I think if there's any weak links on the offensive line, that can be a problem.
Vic Fangio is going to mix anything up. I mean, too high looks. Mahomes is kind of aced it at this point.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? Is he takes what the defense gives him. So how do you Mahomes-proof a defense? You don't. As I said, the only way to do it is have him under pressure the entire game, and that's easier said than done. And Mahomes also knows how to roll out of the pocket, buy time, all that stuff. And it's funny. I asked Veach the other day, talking about the wasp play that they used to beat the Niners. And Veach was like, I didn't know this. He's the GM, and he was like, I only watch Mahomes in the pocket. That's all I watch. I watch everything else on tape, but when live, he's just watching Mahomes in the pocket. And he said that some of these plays, Wasp in particular, it looks like he's just dropping back for a Hail Mary. He's just running back, and he's like, get this ball out of my hand. And meanwhile, he's got a plan. He actually, unlike you or I, we're looking at it and we're going, oh, Mahomes doesn't have a plan. No. Mahomes knows what he's doing at all times. Even if he looks like he's out of control, he's in control. And the way that manifests itself against defensive coordinators is if he needs to throw a bunch of 4-yard drag routes behind a linebacker to win, he's going to do that. He's not going to get bored and try to hit the deep shot or whatever. I mean, that happens far too often with quarterbacks. He's not that guy. I had Steve Young on my show this time last year, and he said that Mahomes gets so much credit for being Superman, but what really he should get more credit for is being Clark Kent, the normal, hey, hit the screen, hit the check down, hit the tight end over the middle. You don't need to hit Tyreek Hill. I think you remember those screen grabs, 5 years ago where it was this play looks like nothing, ended up being a 60-yard completion because, Hill went deep and Mahomes just launched up in the air. You don't need to do that anymore. Defenses have figured out how to take that away, so you win the Super Bowl another way. And that's why I think Fangio versus Mahomes is a great chess match, but I'm picking the Chiefs because I think Mahomes can figure anything out.
Other side of the ball, Eagles on offense. Obviously, Saquon Barkley will be the key here, but Chiefs' run defense kind of regressed toward the back end of the season. Are you worried about that? Or are they going to be able to stop Saquon Barkley? Which is a tough question to answer.
It's funny. So Ben Solak was just asking me, he's like, schematically, what can they do to stop Saquon? I'm like, well, the problem is you can have a linebacker right in front of Saquon Barkley, and Saquon Barkley will find a way to get 8 extra yards out of it. Either he's leaping over or he's running through you. He runs so hard. And so schematically, it's easier said than done. as you said, the rushing defense has gotten worse for Kansas City. I think they've given up over 50% success rate in both playoff games, which is not good. So that's the question: is how do you stop Saquon Barkley? Also, the after effect is if Saquon Barkley goes off, the game gets shorter. They're able to sit on a lead. They're able to control the ball more. I think the Chiefs are pretty comfortable playing those sort of grinded out, low-scoring games. But if the Eagles get a lead and they're able to sit on the ball with Saquon, that's massive. So I think that's actually, there's a handful of keys to this game, but that's a huge one. Is can Saquon, even if the schematics work, can Saquon get those extra yards after contact? I mean, his yards after contact numbers are insane, just insane. Can the Chiefs tackle him to the ground and control the game?
So you said you like the Chiefs. So one more thing before we let you go. Saints, looking at Kellen Moore. What are your thoughts on him, and could you see him trying to bring back Derek Carr? The general manager, Mickey Loomis, said it's kind of up to the new coach on what the future is at quarterback for the Saints.
Yeah, I've never. I don't want to be a downer to our friends here in Louisiana. I've never been a massive Kellen Moore fan. I thought that, especially at the end in Dallas, sometimes his offenses lacked imagination. Sometimes they didn't lend themselves to explosive plays just because of the routes that he would run, which were a lot of times borrowed from Jason Garrett and Scott Linehan, that whole lineage, and that's great and all that stuff. But I also think that what you do as a play caller versus what you do as a head coach is two different jobs. It is two different jobs, and I don't think there's such thing as a coaching prospect. You think, like, okay, you hire Ben Johnson in Chicago, all you know is he's going to call good plays. You have no idea how he's going to command the room. You don't know anything. It's a different job than being a play caller. And so with Kellen Moore, if I don't love his playbook, that's fine. I don't love Nick Sirianni's playbook. He's about to play in the Super Bowl. And so it's hard for me to gauge until I see it. Now, with the quarterback thing, you're kind of in purgatory. I mean, what do? You're not going to draft high enough to get a Cam Ward or a Shedeur Sanders. I don't want you to overreach and try to get Zach Jackson Dart in the first or second round or whatever the hell. And by the way, now I'm hearing reports they might love Spencer Rattler. I don't love Spencer Rattler. It's a tough situation. That's why Kellen Moore is the coach of the team. If they had a good quarterback option, you'd be dealing with a different level of coach. You don't have that. So I wouldn't be offended by Derek Carr coming back another year, kick the can down the road, have some stability. I mean, the one thing you don't want is to go in with no quarterback, just none, or just say, hey, maybe Spencer Rattler takes another step. Don't do that. That's how you go 1-15. That's how you just lose. I mean, my whole thing is like establishing a culture. You can't just be completely void of wins and talent and all that stuff. You got to have some stability at the quarterback position. And I wouldn't be offended if Carr was that for one more year.
All right, what else you got going on this week? Where can everybody find you?
This is football via Omaha Productions. You can find me at by Kevin Clark on social. Radio row shows all week. Bunch of different stuff. Guests, montages from media night, all that good stuff. So podcast, YouTube, social media, everything.
Appreciate your time. Great work as always, and enjoy New Orleans this week.
Appreciate you.
All right. Good stuff. Good stuff by Kevin Clark. I enjoyed that. Hardcore football, breaking down, schemes and things like that. So, and weighed in on the Saints situation as well. Purgatory, yeah, it's one way to say it. Hell might be closer, but yes, it's we all know it's a tough situation, but very lukewarm. Kind of the way I am. I'm just Kellen Moore. I don't know. I mean,
maybe
you could do worse. You could do better.
I don't know what kind of head coach he's going to be. He's got plenty of potential. The quarterback situation is what's been the biggest turnoff for prospective coaches here. That and the salary cap. And what do you do with Derek Carr? If they bring Derek Carr is their best option to win the most games next year of what they have available to them. Okay, but do you want that? Because that ceiling is 7 wins, ish. And that's if Carr plays 17 games. Would you be better off cutting him, starting to absorb that contract, getting out of that, signing, say, a Daniel Jones just to, kind of be a space holder until you can really address this in a year? But that means that your rookie quarterback's probably going to have to go like 3-14 or 4-13 if you do that, if you go with Rattler/Jones. But
there's no comparison, Derek Carr and Spencer Rattler.
Exactly.
There's none.
So do you want to bring back Derek Carr, paying the $50 million?
Well, you get
and go
they're
7 and 10.
contractually obligated to pay him, right?
Yeah, but if you cut him now, you can get out of the contract earlier than if you keep him another year. So do you want to keep him and go 7 and 10, or do you want to cut him, absorb the hit, and go 4 and 13? You know,
I can see. To me, 7 and 10 does nothing to me. So I
doesn't.
cut him.
Yeah, I would too. I think.
You know, but as far as you trying to run your organization, keep people somewhat interested and somewhat competitive.
Yeah, and trying to keep my job. I want to. It sounds contradictory.
I
want to cut the guy that gives me the chance to win the most games next year. Yeah, I do.
As far as Kellen Moore is concerned, he's got and I explained this to Max. You were gone, but his path, his playing career, kind of is the right one for a successful coach. I mean, he's an overachiever. Mm-hmm. He was very, very smart, but very limited physically. Didn't have a great arm, didn't have a whole lot of mobility. But damn it, when they need to go 80 yards to win the game at Virginia Tech in Landover, Maryland, he did it. And I mean, he was at the peak. Now, their offensive and defensive lines were at their peak. They could compete with anybody that Boise. It wasn't just this typical, that first team that beat Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl, just this big Cinderella run. No, they had some guys up front. That year they beat TCU in the Fiesta Bowl and some other things. But he was an overachiever as a player, and that's kind of the path for the more successful. The super talented ones are rarely very good coaches. Rarely. So, but he's very blasé. I mean, the Chargers, well, he's part of the problem. I mean, the Cowboys, yeah, I mean, had some success, but, left you just kind of in Philly. I mean, the one common theme that I think is universal, and everybody breaking his game, that Philly's got a hell of a roster. Yeah. And so it's not the toughest place to play quarterback. It's not the toughest place to coach.
Take the Philadelphia season out of it because of that personnel. In the 4 seasons he was in Dallas, overseeing the offense, they were second in the NFL in points per game and second in the NFL in total offense. In the chart,
that 4-year period?
Over the 4-year period.
That's
those are
not
good
bad.
numbers.
That impresses me. I didn't realize that.
In Los Angeles, before Herbert got hurt, they were 5th in the NFL in total offense, and then Herbert was in and out of the lineup the rest of the year.
Don't forget our friends at United Community Bank, the local way to bank big, with locations from Baton Rouge to Golden Meadow, including their newest location at Burbank and Bluebonnet. We've been serving the people of Southern Louisiana for over 50 years. United Community Bank, your business is our business. We support the hardworking folks behind local business. From initial startup loans to ongoing planning and assessments, United Community Bank is here for you. Our great team at UCB, Heath Meir, Prentice Wilkes, Nicole Glover, Hunter Creed, David Campbell, and David Henry. United Community Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Live at Rufino's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Otten Hanny from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Show's available on demand, LouisianaSports.net. New Handycast up, previewing LSU's hitters up on YouTube. A week from today, LSU starts the baseball season. Kind of snuck right up on us a little bit there.
Yeah, we'll be on at 10 a.m. to noon next Friday to accommodate Hunt, and then media day or whatever.
It's an afternoon game.
So
afternoon game. Keep out of the
LSU baseball.
Keep out of the cold. Bruce Marshall with us in the next hour. We'll also be going back down to New Orleans and Doug Kazarian. So all of that coming up in hour number 2, plus our picks on Super Bowl 59. Live at Rufino's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Otten Hanny from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, as we continue here from Rufino's, our appetizer features for today and throughout the weekend, the stuffed shrimp or the char siu ribs, or St. Louis pork ribs with the Szechuan sticky glaze. Entree features today the broiled 16-ounce Wagyu flank steak, the grilled Kavori salmon, in the oven roasted prime rib. Our dessert feature this weekend is Oreo cheesecake. It sounds good. Fresh Oreos baked in a delicious cheesecake topped with whipped cream and Oreos. And as always, our own hand-picked single-barrel select bourbon, Rufino's Old Elk Bourbon. Let's go out to Las Vegas, talk to Bruce Marshall, as we do each and every week for so many years. Bruce, the man was at Super Bowl I back in the Rose Bowl or the Coliseum?
Coliseum.
Coliseum. There you go. Brucey, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, good. On my bucket list, by the way, it's coming to see you guys on a Friday and having lunch with you at Rufino's, talk football after I go to a Waffle House for breakfast. And then that would be like a perfect day.
Bourbon with your Oreos. That's what we got here today.
Doesn't sound much better than... Yeah, I was at the first Super Bowl. There's, by the way, a quick misnomer. A lot of people... Nothing bothers me more than some guy who was born in the 80s telling me that, if you couldn't have been there, they didn't call it the Super Bowl back then. Oh, yes, they did. It just wasn't officially called the Super Bowl until 3. The Jets-Colts, and Pete Rozelle officially affixed it. But everybody was referring to the first Chiefs-Packers as Super Bowl. Newspapers, magazines, television. Okay. They had a Rose Bowl-like float at the game that said Super Bowl on it. And I was cheering for the Chiefs that day. And the first half was really good. And the Chiefs actually outgained them in the first half. It was a real game until that interception early in the third quarter. But my highlight of the game was when Jim Taylor was a tough cookie, and he didn't like people. He would get up and kind of fight guys sometimes. And he did it to Buck Buchanan late in the third quarter in that game. And Buchanan did not take kindly to it and threw Taylor down like a rag doll after the play. Now, we know how tough Taylor was. You can imagine what a mean sucker, tough guy Buck Buchanan was to make Jim Taylor, kind of sulk away from him. So that turned out to be my highlight of the game, the second half of the game.
And of course, talking about the first time the team can win, the championship 3 times. It's Super Bowl era because, of course, the Packers won the NFL title the year before the Super Bowl. They won the first 2. And then you got to go back all the way to like the late 20s, early 30s when the Packers won 3 in a row. But that's it. That's it. Only three. This will be the third three-peat in the history of the NFL, first in the Super Bowl era.
You know what else is pretty cool for Louisiana fans? Taylor scored a touchdown in that game, and you remember who scored the first touchdown?
Max McGee out of Tulane.
Out of Tulane, yeah, the two Louisiana guys scored the first 2 touchdowns for Green Bay.
Said he was up all night having a few drinks.
Yeah, I think Boyd Dowler was the receiver that was supposed to start, and he got sick or hurt or something, and McGee had to go into the game.
Got knocked out of the game in the first quarter.
2 touchdowns in the game?
He had 2 touchdowns, including the first.
Yeah. Yep. So, yes, indeed. What's your thoughts on this Super Bowl?
Well, Jimmy, it's there's 2 things here. One, you look at the Eagles here, and I think they're a little better than they were 2 years ago because of the Saquon factor. I know getting Fangio on the defense has really helped, although Gannon's defense was pretty good 2 years ago too. But these explosive plays that Saquon has, I mean, it just has changed the dimension of this team so much. And 2 years ago it was more of a downfield passing team with Hurts and hitting Brown and Devontae downfield. And last year teams took that away from the Eagles pretty much. This year the adjustment was Saquon, and it's just hard to defend that. So it makes it hard to look against the Eagles when you look at them sometimes and you see all these big runs that Saquon has. But I always circle back to when the Chiefs, I expect it to be a close game. And how can you pick against the Chiefs in a close game? They seem to win all these. Their record in one-score games is incredible. Mahomes, when he's behind or needs a touchdown, 13 or 14 drives he scored. The numbers are just, it's very hard to pick against the Chiefs in a game that you think is going to be close. And it might come down to a Butker field goal again. And I think it's interesting in Vegas from what I'm hearing, a lot of the Eagles bettors are playing this one on the money line. If, the line is +1, they think, well, let's just take it on the money line and get all the better price. Chiefs bettors are just playing the spread pretty much. But the number hasn't moved too much. So there's a lot of split opinion on this. I ended up on the Chiefs side here. I think it might be lower scoring, although that would run counter if you watch the Eagles in that game against Washington 2 weeks ago. But something tells me the Chiefs' defense, which is really good and underrated a bit for Spagnuolo, might have something to say about this. 23-20 KC is my score forecast, and normally I don't pick a score that close with a with a spread so near that. But I think this is probably a 3-point game, and I'm not going to pick against the Chiefs in a game I think will end by 3.
And it's the roster's certainly better than it was 2 years ago. Just think of the people that they added on defense: Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Zach Bond, Jalen Carter, and that's before we even get to Saquon Barkley. Of course, they don't have Kelsey at center, which they did a year ago. I would say that Hurts maybe not in his certainly not the year he had 2 years ago statistically, so maybe not in total comfort form there, but Hurts played more than well enough to win in the Super Bowl.
Looked healthier 2 weeks ago than he did 5 weeks ago.
The health is fine.
Yeah.
He is fine. And
but 5 weeks ago it wasn't.
No, of course. No, he had to sit out a game. He got knocked out of a game, had to sit out another, and then at the end of the Rams game, they twisted him around a little bit. Yeah. But no, they ran one design run. It was a 9-yard touchdown. He's fine. He's fine now. That's not a concern. I'm just talking about his overall. His play is not at the same level. Now, they had a comfortable schedule that year where looks like it was like 21-0 at the end of the first quarter, almost every damn game. I mean, it was just, they were blasting people. That also inflated that sack total that year. If you remember, they led the league in sacks. It wasn't even close. It was like 20 more sacks.
Everybody was playing from behind.
A lot of sacks come in garbage time.
Yeah.
When you don't have to respect the run and you're just getting after the quarterback. But then the other thing that I think is fair, Bruce, is when people handicap and they say, well, I watched Kansas City in week 17 or week 12. Man, this is a classic case of a team that's won multiple titles that has coasted through. And, okay, it's the fourth quarter. Let's try to – the game at Carolina, I watched it very closely. Classic case of we're just playing. All right, we got to go down the field and score at the end to win this game. We'll take care of it. So – I do think that's faulty handicapping when you start referencing regular season with these guys. It's not the NBA where they coast, just get us into the postseason. But, I mean, it's I think that's a little bit flawed when people start bringing it up. Beware of that. The one thing, though, what about this angle I brought up to Charlie, Brucey? The team that has a bye, that team that played a team without a bye, 1-9 straight up in the Super Bowl, and lost every time against the spread. The one time the team had the bye against a team that didn't was Pittsburgh, Arizona, and the Steelers with the Santonio Holmes catch. Arizona covered that. Arizona had to play the wild card against Atlanta and others. Both of the Giants Super Bowls against New England. Giants had to play against Tampa Bay. New England had the bye. Giants had to play against Atlanta. New England had the bye. But they came around. Kansas City. Kansas City played against Miami last year in the wild card round. San Francisco had the bye. Before that, Tampa, Kansas City. Tampa had to play Washington in the wild card round. Taylor Heineke. Kansas City had the bye. They beat them. Baltimore, when they, Baltimore, San Francisco, in New Orleans. They had to play Indy in a wild card round. San Francisco had the bye. We go on and on. I mean, how about this one, Bruce? Green Bay was a 6th seed and was favored in Dallas or Arlington by 2.5 over Pittsburgh, who had the bye. How about that one? We remember the Colts one win over Chicago. Chicago was the number 1 seed that year and had the bye. Indy had to beat Kansas City. Anything to that? That's an unbelievable trend. We usually think of it's the divisional round where the team is rested or rusted, but anything to that?
Well, the numbers suggest there is, Jimmy. I mean, if you're talking about 1-9 and all those things that you cite, that might play into it. The Chiefs, consciously, I'm not sure how much it mattered, but no, that's something you got to figure and think about maybe. The Chiefs, you're right. Last year they did play that first round game against Miami. 2 years ago, these teams both had a bye in the first round. In 2019, the Chiefs and Niners both had a bye off the bat, I think. So they've generally been playing teams in the same, in the same thing as them. So there might be something.
I mean, it's 9-0 ATS. I mean,
I think with the Chiefs, though, one thing. We cite that. Here's what matters about the regular season, though, with them is that they kept winning all these games. and they were close in some of the games. A little bit deceiving, but if it's close, I mean, they were winning all these one-score games. And listen, the Carolina game, I might differ with you a bit. That game was tied. They had to kick a last-second field goal to win. I know they were ahead, but Carolina came back and got them. Tied that game inside of 2 minutes left. So there's another one the Chiefs pull out right at the end. But I think they were playing some of their best football the regular season right at the end, right when they got over that hump, that period where they had all those close games. The Cleveland game, especially the Pittsburgh game on Christmas, I mean, they just went in there and dominated. I know Pittsburgh was cooling off at the end of the year, but they had started to play pretty well in December there. Throw out that Denver game. One other note
they
about
play their
these
starters. I mean, you know.
Yes, right. Absolutely. One other note. These teams also, we know the Super Bowl 2 years ago, they did play. I don't know if this means much or not, but worth pointing out. They played in the regular season last year, November Monday night game at Arrowhead, and the Eagles came back and beat them 21-17. I'm not sure what that matters here, but it's just worth pointing out that the revenge thing for Philly. They talked about that last year. Maybe they got that angle of it out of their system. But the one thing about the last two Chiefs-Eagles games, if you look at the stat column, the Chiefs did not have a pass completion more than 22 yards in either of those games. So it was a lot of short stuff, chipping away. And the Super Bowl 2 years ago, it was in the first half, Kansas City got pushed around. They scored on all four of their possessions in the second half. It's just we've seen that so often with Kansas City, and Mahomes, how they end up, doing things late in the game that allow them to win. And that's a very, very powerful thing to look at when you're trying to pick a winner of this bigger thing.
Anything in college basketball tonight or tomorrow? We got some of the lines for the bigger games for tomorrow out already.
Yes. A couple tonight I actually like. A couple of dogs. USC getting low teens at Purdue. USC's not that bad. I want to see if Desmond Claude is going to play. He missed the game at Northwestern earlier in the week. But Slatcher, the transfer from Penn, had 24. They lost that game in the last second. Muss has done a really nice job. They covered 9 of their last 13. I know Purdue's moved back into the top, 7 now or 5? Matt Painter again, but I think SC might be worth a look tonight. San Jose State, if you were fortunate enough to bet that game early on Tuesday at Fresno and got 2.5 with San Jose and laid 2.5, you got another winner. If you waited till late, it was 3.5. But, if you got it early, that means San Jose 17-1 last 18 against the spread. So they're playing tonight at Boise, so maybe look at them. St. Louis playing tonight. St. Joe's, they beat St. Joe's by 16 about a month ago in St. Louis, in Philly tonight. However, the angle to look at with the St. Louis is under, baby. 11-1 the last 12. I think it's now 14-2 the last 16. This total's in the mid-140s. So I'd look at another under there. The fascinating one tomorrow for me is Arkansas and Alabama. And how Cal, a week ago this time, I was ready to bury Cal. And look at this, 2 wins in a row. Interesting here, when Boogie Fland went out, as good as he is, the team has started to play better without him. Sometimes these things happen in hoops. Wagner's been able to move back to the point where he's a little bit more comfortable. And Janelle Davis, who I thought was going to be their home run transfer in the offseason from Florida Atlantic, who really didn't do much the first 2 months of the season, all of a sudden, look at his production here the last few games. Really big, very important. Those are 2 really nice wins that Cal had at Kentucky and Texas this last week. I'm wondering if they might be able to push Bama tomorrow. This is all of a sudden a lot more interesting. And by the way, I think Cal's back in the potential, he's back on the radar, on the bubble. And if there's an SEC team that might move out, I could see Vanderbilt falling out because the schedule's tough and they don't have and at the end, one of these teams is going to fall out. I could still see 13 from the SEC, but now I'm thinking Cal might be one of those. This is quite a turnaround.
Oh, no doubt. Those are 2 quad wins at Kentucky, at Texas, and those are comfortable wins, too. Those are ones that, that required a big play at the end. They cruised to victories, and that's $1 million question. Is this for real now? Is this sustainable for Arkansas? It was just one of those nights. Well, the first test was this past week against Texas. They proved that. I think it is. Okay, Flan is a talent. Okay, there are talents that don't necessarily contribute to the team overall. This team is better without him. Period.
Yep.
And it starts on the defensive end, their commitment to defending. And yes, John L. Davis was just flat out uncomfortable with him. Bland probably got more money to go there, and so they deferred to him when Davis is the better player. He was the winning player, and so no, they're way better. I think they're going to adjust this at some point, but I think they're closer to being at this level than that level where they were getting trounced earlier on.
And they've got some games in the second half of the season. They play LSU and South Carolina again. They get Texas at home. Some really winnable games. If it gets close, that LSU loss is really going to hurt them because LSU is going to finish at the bottom of the conference.
But I think they will look at form too. And I know we debate on how much the last 10 count, things like that. This will be a team that's much higher form than what they were earlier on. This is a chance for Cal because this was a poorly coached team. They are a different team. Something about the getting sparked, a little return to Rupp Arena. Unbelievable. Brucey, anything else before we let you go? Any type of prop that you like or anything else?
Well, just it's tough to watch a game with a lot of people who bet on props because they're cheering on every play. So that's one thing.
Like watching games with Charlie betting his fantasy team. So. I'm sorry, Max.
Max, please.
Okay. But here's the one thing on the Philadelphia side, and everybody always bets these overs. If there's one guy who I could see might make an impact is Dallas Goedert. He's got his total yards at I think 52.5 last I saw. Listen, he missed almost half the season, but he had a lot of big plays. And I maintain one of the biggest plays that Philly had this year was that game in the Superdome against the Saints back in Week 3. That 3rd and 16, that 61-yard gain, that was huge. That set up Saquon to score right at the end.
Yeah.
And if Philly loses that game, maybe the season, it will stay the same, but then they lost that game at Tampa Bay the next week. They could have been looking at 1-3, and this thing could have started to unravel. Goddard has made big plays all year. I could see him being somewhat effective there tomorrow. There's a prop out there with him make the first score of the game. Goddard, you get like a 20-1 on that. Maybe. The other bet though that I like, Chiefs to win, having trailed at one point in the game. I saw that at plus 175. That's the kind of the Chiefs' motto. They win, they'll usually be behind, and they win. So I might look at that too.
Good luck to you, Bruce. Enjoy the game. We'll talk to you next week. Thank you, buddy.
Have fun, boys.
All right, don't forget our friends over at Total Maintenance, one of South Louisiana's oldest and largest AC and heating companies since 1980. Now is the time to get your AC unit checked out. We're starting to use them a little bit, but we hadn't really stressed them like we're going to do in the upcoming months. But it's going to clean it and make sure just evaluate it, see if something a part might be about to go bad, things like that. No, so we want to save you a more costly repair when we stress them more. When it breaks down, don't wait till it just shuts down in the middle of the heat, and then you're looking. Eliminate that. Prevent that with some preventative maintenance. And what a better time to do it right now. Normally, a one-time AC check is set $179. You do it for just $79. Lock it a week. Save you $100. Normally $179. Now just $79. Call Total Maintenance 480-1000. 480-1000. Against that AC heating check. Mention my name, Jimmy Ott, Charlie Hanegraaff, live at lunch, Bruce Marshall, whoever. Max. Throw Max's name in there. Hell, get you $100 off. 480-1000. 480-1000. We are Total Maintenance.
Live at Rufino's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch.
The Thibodaux store, 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodaux as we creep further into the spring. Talking about grilling weather, what a huge selection of grills, including the big green egg cookers that are available at the Thibodaux store. Man, Jimmy, I was looking into that. Big green egg cooker. It's part of the.
I got mine coming.
Got you? I know. I heard. Yeah,
big
green egg cookers. Yeah, the crawfish pots, the jambalaya pots, all of them available there. Some unique furniture items, Cypress furniture. They got plenty there for you. And if you're heading down fishing now that the weather is warming up a little bit, huge selection of fishing gear down at the Thibodeau store. You can shop online. Their Cajun cookware and some of the hardware available for free delivery, so you can shop online at ThibodeauStore.com. If you're looking for lumber, their sister property, the Pierre Port store, will deliver for you from there. They've been in business for 113 years. The Thibodeau store, 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodeau, and online, ThibodeauStore.com.
Live at lunch with Otten Hanny from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Today's show also hang on a second. Today's show also brought to you by Coastal Capital Advisors. My man Phil Fontenot and his staff, full-service financial planners. When it comes to retirement, there are no two situations alike. So Coastal Capital Advisors will work with you, your partners, your legal team, and tax professionals to make sure you get everything in line. Coastal Capital's Advisors will work for you. They work for me. Call them at 337-981-1376. Phil Fontenot and his staff at Coastal Capital Advisors. Coastal Capital ADV.com. Services provided by New Age Advisors doing business as Coastal Capital Advisors. Securities offered through New Age Securities, member FINRA, SIPC.
All right, Charlie, your picks.
Eagles. For all the reasons we talked about, I think they're the better team as well from top to bottom. And I'm going to take this over. So Eagles and the over are my two plays on the Tide and the total. 3 props for you. Bruce was talking about Dallas Goedert. I like the touchdown prop better than the catches prop with him. Kansas City gave up the most yards to tight ends. There's a fantasy stat for you that works into your props. Most yards to tight ends this year, but I like the touchdown prop plus 333. And for goodness sake,
Goddard anytime TD?
Anytime TD plus 333. But prop shop, please. I've seen it as low as plus 240, as high as plus 333. We're talking about significant differences here. So Dallas Goedert with anytime TD. A.J. Brown over 5.5 catches. You're catching a little bit there, plus 107.
Wait, A.J. Brown what?
Over 5.5 catches,
okay.
Plus 107. He went over that total in 73% of the games this season. And I'm going to play Travis Kelce over 6.5 catches at plus 123.
Over 6.5.
Over 6.5. He did that 8 times this year. A lot of the talk about Kelce having a down year was centered around yards and touchdowns. Those numbers were down. The catches numbers were fine. He caught 97 balls in the regular season.
But over 8 times where they played 20 games.
Yeah, it's a little bit better than less. You're getting a plus number here, plus 123.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Plus 123. So I like him in a big game to step up over 6.5 catches for plus 123. He caught plenty of balls this year, just not as many yards and as many touchdowns.
All right, a couple of bets that I have. I get A.J. Brown over 24.5 for his longest reception. So I just think that, again, Spags is going to bring that pressure. I mean, it's coming at some point, usually at critical downs when they get when they threaten. And there's no doubt, you remember the Super Bowl 2 years ago, he threw the jump ball up to A.J. Brown. That's where he's going. You saw when they brought the pressure on the biggest play of the game, the NFC Championship game, 4th and 4 near midfield. They brought pressure. He found A.J. Brown, who beat Lattimore. That's his guy against pressure downfield. That's why I like the big play here over 24.5 yards. You going to say something?
No, I agree. The Chiefs play a ton of man coverage, too, so I'm with you.
Goddard over 49.5 yards receiving, trending, the matchup like Charlie talked about against they've been susceptible to tight ends all year long. It seems like he's just and Hurts has struggled a little bit, and he's a little bit of a security blanket. Those are easy throws to the tight end. He's a little bit more comfortable throwing. They're using him, no doubt. I like Goddard over 49.5.
Straight juice, sir. Straight juice? Are you getting plus money?
Back and look. Here we go.
Move on. I thought you had it written
minus
down.
110.
Okay. Yeah,
minus
straight
110.
Juice.
And we'll give out more props on Football Sunday. I've got Kelce under 62.5 yards. Under 62.5 total receiving yards for the game. So I've got that. And then I'm going with under and this is my favorite one, under 57.5, Xavier Worthy. So I was on with Haldane earlier today. That's my favorite prop of the. This game is just crept up. It opened up about 48. It's up to 57.5 at the Queen here locally, DraftKings. So under 57.5, he went over. He's gone under most of the time on this one for the year. He's certainly trending that late, but he became much more of a favorable target for Mahomes as soon as that Buffalo cornerback went down. He had 1 yard until he went down. After that, they picked on his defender. This is an upgrade on the cornerbacks that he's going to face, whether it's Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, and you know that Philly pass rush. Philly, one of the bottom 5 in, blitz percentage this year. They don't have to. They can get with Jalen Carter and those other guys. They get pressure a lot of times. So Xavier Worthy, under 57.5. More picks we're going to have for you again on Football Sunday, our last Football Sunday of the year, originating from the Beau Rivage BetMGM property this Sunday, 10 a.m. to noon. I want to thank our friends over from Town Square Pizza. Provide. It's a happy group at Guarantee Media yesterday. Why? Because the folks at Town Square Pizza brought king cakes. They do the square king cakes just like the square pizzas downtown facing Town Square. We're going to have some of them next week as well. So it's king cake season, and hey, hip to be square, baby. Get the square king cakes from Town Square Pizza. You've had the pizza made to order, specialty pizzas right in front of you in that oven that really crisp them up just perfect, piping hot, fresh. You got to love it. They're doing the king cakes as well. We'll have some of those, and man, the folks were happy at the office yesterday on Government Street at Guarantee Media with the king cakes from Town Square Pizza.
Live at Rafine, Doug Kazarian down in New Orleans when we come back live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Odd and Hanny from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
When I go to Las Vegas, what am I going to do? Go eat McDonald's with humans? No. A guy that when I eat a nice meal, a guy that's always game, my buddy Doug Kazarian, who was in town on Radio Row and in the Crescent City, my hometown, for the week. Now he's back in Las Vegas. But Dougie, how you doing? Did you get to test your palate in some of the great restaurants they have in New Orleans?
Yeah, my 4th trip to NOLA, and it was a lot of fun. As always, each trip has been different, dating back to when I was in college and went to Mardi Gras,
yeah.
And then also did Jazz Fest for a bachelor party. Then I also swung through New Orleans after going to Baton Rouge for a Death Valley game. So I've done a little bit of everything. And then Super Bowl week, obviously a different flavor in and of itself.
How was Radio Row?
Every year is different. This is my 7th one, and in the last 8 years. And everything's a little different. I would say this year the betting sort of novelty has waned off. It is no longer this sort of, like I said, novelty, right? 5 years ago, I was bringing packets from sports books, and everyone just embraced it all, and it was such a new thing. Well, now we have prop bets every day, and betting is legal in 40 states. So while the Super Bowl used to be our hall pass as a media outlet to discuss betting and actually discuss point spreads and props, we can now do that every day in the media. So we don't have to worry about it in this regard. And that's why I would say there was a little bit of, just casual approach to it. And also the fact that it's the Chiefs' 5th trip with Patrick Mahomes, and also we had this matchup two years ago.
That's interesting you bring that up because I forget how many years it's since they made it legal outside of Nevada. I think the first bet was taken at the Beau Rivage where we were broadcasting in a BetMGM property down in Biloxi, about an hour outside of New Orleans this weekend. And then we're about 3 years behind. What do you like and what do you not like about the path that is taken to this point with the legalization and outside of Nevada and just flat out more mainstream and so much more media covered it today?
Say that to me again, please. I'm sorry.
I'm just like, since it's become legal outside of Nevada, what do you like and what's the direction that it's taken As far as you hear some horror stories about the bettors are not protected on certain things, and just how it's evolved to this point. What do you like and what do you not like since it's become legal outside of Nevada?
Well, I think betting has arrived. So just my whole point of that, media members are comfortable talking about prop bets. I like that you can ask it in a media scrum to an athlete after the game, saying, "Oh, you fell down to ice the game instead of scoring a touchdown. That probably cost some people some bets." And he can just say, "I don't care about the wagers. We're just trying to win the game," and then move on to the next question. And I think that's a win for betting. I mean, sometimes back in the day, you'd ask a betting question, you could hear the DJ screech the record, right? And just the fact that it's become sort of accepted and part of the conversation, it's not that big of a deal. It's just one analytic, and that's it. So I like all that. And I don't worry too much about some of these stories that have surfaced, whether it be point shaving or whatever. It's been going on for years. It will continue to go on for years. The concern is when it's not regulated. That's when it's going to go on. But the fact that the authorities are monitoring it and, and apprehending the bad actors. And the question is not to change the betting space, it's just more oversight, because Wall Street has insider trading every day, or maybe not every day, but things like that. But that doesn't mean you shut it down. You just have more oversight and more regulation and then more education, because a lot of, especially early on, the players at the Colts facility who were on the Wi-Fi just didn't realize the degree that they were violating rules. So in due time, I think players will understand it. There's a baseball umpire; he's going to learn the hard way. So you have to break some eggs to make the omelet. But we have, there's people who speed on the highway all the time. That doesn't mean you shut down highways. There's always going to be people who violate. Hopefully, it's smaller percentages. You just have the right infrastructure to make sure the penalties and all that are in place to decrease those violators.
Doug Kazarian, OnlyPlayers.com, joining us, recapping his week down in New Orleans for the Super Bowl. Speaking of the props, what are you looking at for this Sunday's game?
So I'm more on the props than I am anything else, because I think that it's a coin flip outcome, although I do lean to Philly. I understand the Patrick Mahomes narrative and all the concerns, but the Niners had 4 plays last year on offense with Mahomes on the sideline where they could have iced the game. The Bills in the AFC title game had the ball down 3 with 3:30 to go, and the defense shut him down, not Patrick Mahomes. So, yes, Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league, and he's the face of the NFL, and he's awesome. But there are paths to victory for the opposing teams, and I think the Eagles have plenty of weapons. And, again, it's merely a lean. That's all I'm saying. In terms of the props, I have a bunch. I really like a few. My favorite one, I think, is about minus 135 at this point. It's will the game be tied after 0-0? I think yes. I mean, look, these teams are willing to go for it on 4th down if they're down 7. They're not going to just take the point. I think it's going to be a really tight game. I think the officiating sometimes enables teams that are trailing to come back. So I just feel we're going to have a tie game at one point. Minus 135 feels a little on the low side. So I do like that. I am on Saquon under 112 rushing yards. Run D is the Chiefs' strength. So I just think it's a really big number. And we remember the Eagles throughout the playoffs have had the same game script. They've been playing with leads. There's going to be maybe in the game they're going to not have that luxury like they've had this entire postseason. So playing, from behind, you're not going to be able to run Barkley a bunch. And I think Jalen Hurts is healthier than he was maybe the second half of the Rams game, right, where they had to rely on Barkley. And there's a lot of opportunity here against this Chiefs defense, which is really bad against slot receivers. We saw Shakir have a monster game in the AFC title game. And I think Devontae Smith, consequently, is going to have a big game. So I like him over 4.5 receptions. I like him even 65-1 to win MVP is worth a flyer. Also, I like Xavier Worthy over 5.5 rushing yards. We know he got multiple carries in the last game, but this Eagles middle linebacker situation is bad. Nakobe Dean's out with an injury. Their other middle linebackers hurt. So I think to slow down this pass rush, which wants to go north-south, you got to make the defense play sideline to sideline. And Xavier Worthy's their speedster who does that. So I think they're going to do a lot of end-arounds and pitches and unique plays where Worthy can get – I would have this line closer to 9.5. I really would. So that is a worthwhile play. And then my favorite is a long shot. Will either Jalen Hurts or Patrick Mahomes catch a pass? And 1,300 is plus 1,300 for the yes. I think with these excellent defensive coordinators with Spags and I'm blanking on the Eagles DC, but you can't mess up with Vic Fangio. You can't mess around. You got to give him stuff that's not on tape. We saw what Spags did to the Bills out of a timeout on that fourth down blitzing Josh Allen. It's elite coaching. So you got to put stuff that's not on tape, and I think Hurts or Mahomes is that option. Devontae Smith can throw the ball. A.J. Brown played baseball in high school. Like these guys can do it. The Philly special originated with the Eagles. I think there's not going to be an opportunity there. Again, it's a fun ticket. Why not?
Hey, Doug, you mentioned the officiating. Are you surprised it's gotten so much discussion about the officiating? I don't remember, a sport where, it is. Is it just the KC fatigue? Is it more people are paying closer attention? You usually be like the gamblers would scream a little bit more about officiating. It is a lot of officiating conversation.
That's a great point. I think if social media existed like it does now when the Sacramento Kings and the LA Lakers played in the West, it would be similar. I think it's really the social media, the attention. And I also think we haven't had a game in 2 weeks, and we're running out of things to say. There's just a saturation of coverage across the board because everything is so viral that you run out of things. You can't wait till the next day for a columnist report. You have to just things just surface and so it's really just how things evolve in our current sort of landscape of media.
What's the best meal you had down in New Orleans?
I was so stuck at Media Row and stuff. I didn't hit all the restaurants like I normally did. I barely stepped on foot at Bourbon Street. So it was really just like the gumbo wherever I went, the seafood gumbo and some of the just all the other hors d'oeuvres, if you will, the small little bites here and there.
Hey, what about a lot? You're one of your favorite sports, the NBA. You certainly captured a lot of the limelight the past week or so. Anything to look at, futures or maybe teams to back in the league moving forward after the shakeup?
It is kind of weird. Just where the NBA has its trade deadline during Super Week doesn't make a lot of sense. I think the NBA MVP race is a little, little mispriced. I don't think SGA should be minus 600. Now, I do think he's going to win. We just saw that with the NFL and Josh Allen last night, like the quote-unquote, it's his turn thing, because Jokic and Giannis are both multiple winners. And SGA is sort of the equivalent of Josh Allen, but, injuries happen, things like that. Similarly, I think the Grizzlies coach to win Coach of the Year, Taylor Jenkins, he's now down to 18-1. A couple days ago, he was 30-1. I think that's in the mix. Grizzlies are the 2 seed. They're making a run. I think they're a force right now. So that's the futures market. In terms of other teams that caught my eye, not really. Obviously the Lakers market is so suppressed right now in terms of those odds. I think Memphis can really come out of the West. I really do. They have a big game. They host OKC tomorrow. I think Memphis and Denver are the teams that are going to give OKC their biggest run for their money. But, between now and then, it's all about trying to pick off, props and things like that. I really like D'Angelo Russell tonight over 5.5 assists.
My Rockets divisional pick done. They were playing so well, had the lead, and blew it at Memphis. That started a 5-game streak, and most of these games they're winning very, very up 11 at New York against Madison Square Garden. On and on. Brooklyn was a meltdown the last minute and a half. Are they done in that division?
No, because they have such a great coach, and it's only 3 games in Memphis. Who knows what Ja Morant's going to do next? But I wouldn't bet the plus 140 at all. I think Memphis is structured so they can really do well in the postseason. Sorry, the regular season, because they have that second unit and they just score so much. And we know benches shorten in the playoffs, but during the regular season, they can just do line change after line change and run up the score. So I would never say it's done when you're only down 3 games back with 31 to go. But it's going to be a bit of a hike just because Memphis doesn't really. I mean, they've only lost. I don't think they've lost 3 in a row all year. So it's really tough. So even if they lose, John Moran or whatever, and he sits out and things like that, it's tough.
Tell us the latest at onlyplayers.com.
Yeah, onlyplayers.com is basically a boutique media sports betting production company. We're kind of like a boutique action network. And so we do content, third-party content for various outlets across the U.S., but we also have our own subscription service, and we're on a heater, 68 units in January. We're already up 28 this month. We have in-game alerts. We have our own app. So a lot of cool stuff, and we're going to be unveiling some new stuff in the near future as well. And so, encourage everyone to come check it out.
In-game alerts, key. There's no doubt. I mean, that is something you have to get to be proficient for, to try and maximize those, when Maryland's up 17 and loses to a banker when you're catching 2, you got to try and middle some of those along the way. Man, I apologize. Couldn't hook up with you down in the Crescent City. We'll get together soon, Doug. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. Good luck to everyone this weekend on the game.
All right, Doug Kazarian of OnlyPlayers.com checking in with us right now. Don't forget our friends over at Los Reyes Mexican Grill. I'll be out of town this week, but normally on a Saturday I hit the Queen, watch the day games, and on the evening I head home and hit Los Reyes. Los Reyes Mexican Grill, vast menu, great selection, fresh Mexican cuisine, and a great happy hour as well, 2:30 to 6:30, 7 days a week, and it's affordable. You don't get that sticker shock when you get your bill at the end of your dining experience as well. We're going to be there doing the show next Wednesday at Los Reyes Mexican Grill. Scott and Kyle, veterans in the restaurant industry. Miss Blair behind the bar, always friendly smile and great service as well. Man, they were packed this past Saturday when I was there. Go by and check it out if you haven't already. Los Reyes Mexican Grill on Lee, just off of Nicholson, across from Mike Anderson's.
Live at Rufino's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Odd and Hanny from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
15-year anniversary, Saints Super Bowl win.
Is that
Super
right?
Bowl 44.
Man,
yeah.
my dad chucked a whole sack of oysters. We were eating them half-shelled, char-grilled, a couple sacks of crawfish. That was a great night. That was a great day.
My favorite football play ever, Tracy Porter. For a football play, I don't think I've ever been as excited as when Tracy Porter picked it off and went back. That was
always knew
an all-timer.
Always knew Manning was going to throw a clinching touchdown for the Saints. Always knew that.
I'll even laugh at that when that Manning joke. No, that was an all-timer for days. Hopefully, we'll have another one day. But February 7th, 2010, the Saints won the Super Bowl.
You don't start the second half with an onside kick. You have to declare now.
Yeah,
so just that doesn't happen. But and I think that something is we talk about Sean. Well, what makes Sean Payton a great coach? One of the things that they do, and it's fun to watch Denver too as well. Man, his attention to detail in the screen plays, and for Pierre Thomas to score on a screen pass, I mean, just kind of fitting, and it was a little bit more of a defensive game than maybe we thought. The Saints did a really good job. They were not a great defense here. They're opportunistic defense,
turnovers,
but they helped. They kind of kept the Colts in check.
Yeah.
So.
Football Sunday from the Beau Rivage for the Super Bowl edition at 10 a.m. on Sunday morning. We'll be there for the Monday show as well. From all of us here at Rufino's, have a great afternoon. Stay tuned for Hunt.